I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
Hey everybody, Lord Tremendous here, and I have my first ever X-Wing battle report. That's right, Star Wars.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I downloaded a whole bunch of new Star Wars-esque sound effects and everything like that, and we played the game. It was tons of fun. I have played X-Wing before, just not in a while. I've had a refresher game prior to this one. I didn't record it because I suck. But yes, we went with the 1 hour tournament rule set, I guess, 100 points, because I guess that's street rules or whatever. But yes, this is my #1 X-Wing battle report, and it was I, Lord Tremendous of the Scum and Villainy side, mostly Scum, let's face it, versus Gnome Runner of the Rebels. We both threw a list together and just started beating the crap out of each other, and it's so much fun. So sit back, relax, and get ready to see how this one goes.
All wings report in.
Here's what I brought, and real quick, if you're unfamiliar with X-Wing, I am going to tell you as much as I know. You use cards. As you can see, here's Boba Fett. Yes, that is actually Boba Fett. You know, I know a guy. And you buy the models, and they come with all the cards, including those little small ones and stuff like that, as well as a bunch of cutouts, so you can play that ship right out of the box. They come painted. They're painted to a very good standard. They look just like the movie ones. You can doctor them up a little bit. You'll see the spoiler, there's a Millennium Falcon in this list, not in my list, but my opponent's list, and he has it doctored up a little bit, just slightly to make it his own, make it a little unique, totally legal, totally cool, and kind of encouraged. But as you can see, you have a whole bunch of different numbers on the cards. You have the name, you have the type of ship, you know, Boba Fett, Fire Spray 31, which is the name of his ship, just in case you were wondering. The little icon right there that looks like a skull with some horns coming out of it, that's Scum. The Rebel one is obviously the Rebel insignia, and the Empire one is obviously going to be the Empire one. The 8 that you see there, the orange 8, that's my piloting skill. The piloting skill kind of goes. It has two distinct value, or two distinct uses. For the most part, the higher your piloting is, the what's it called? You will move. The lower your piloting skill, you will move first. But the higher your so like piloting skill 1, they would move, and then everybody at piloting skill 2 would move, and then 3, 4, all the way up to 9 or 10, whatever it is, whatever the highest value is of the 2 armies playing, or 2 fleets playing. And then the highest piloting skill, they shoot first. So the lower your skill is, you move sooner. The higher your skill is, you shoot sooner, if that makes any sense. The red 3 right under the 8, that's how many shots, that's how many offensive shots you get just doing a normal little attack. As long as you're within, it's about 10 to 12 inches, give or take. And the further away you are, the different abilities you can use, the different ranges and stuff like that allow you to do different things. If you're at range band 1, which is the closest range band of your target, you get an extra die. So instead of the 3 there, instead of rolling 3 dice, I'd roll 4. However, that little number below it, the green 2, that's your evasive dice. That's how many, if someone's shooting at you, that's how many dice you get to roll against them in order to try to avoid that. And in that situation, if somebody's shooting at you from range band 3, you get an extra green or evasive die in order to, get the hell out of the way of the shot. So both of those are pretty important numbers. The yellow one right over there, the 6 in this case, that's your hull integrity. That's how many hit points of damage you can take before your ship becomes, evaporated in space, which is really, really bad for your survival. And there's different cards, like as you can see, I'll get to that in a second, but there's different cards and things like that are out there to make it so that you can up that amount. Below that is the amount of shields you have. That's how many bonus hit points you have before they start going after your hull. I think everybody who's ever watched Star Trek or Star Wars can understand what shields are. The little icons at the bottom are basically, you can match those up to the thinner cards, the smaller cards that are to the left of Boba Fett card. It's kind of hard to see in this picture, and I apologize for that, but in the bottom left of the 2 front cards are the little icons that match up with the icons on that card. In order to use these cards, I have to have that icon, and you can only have as many cards with that icon as you do in that little panel right there that has all the icons. Boba Fett is an expensive named character, so of course he has a lot of those icons. Your basic ships might have one, might have none, so you just take that into effect. The little ship-looking thing right there on the bottom left of the Boba Fett card just shows you the basic outline of what the ship should look like. So if somebody tries to bring an X-wing and say it's Boba Fett, you get to punch him right in the mouth and call him a liar. And then I don't care. Do it if you got to do it. And then that number sign in the bottom right is how many points that particular character and ship is worth out of your allotment. In this case, I have 100 points, so he's worth 39. However, if you look at the smaller cards that are to the left of the card, each one of those, also in the bottom right, have a point value, which adds to your point value of your main card. So right now, Boba is costing me 45 points. He's worth every single penny, but he's showing that's how many points Boba is worth. He's worth 45 points because 39 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 45, I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, those upgrades are what he currently has. Elusiveness, Greedo, and Hull upgrade. They do different things. It's not a huge big deal. We'll get into more detailed reports now. But you have a basic idea now of what the cards mean. And if you've never seen this game before, I hope that helps. And if not, well, just fast forward past my rambling because it won't help you. But yes, and also if you see the little tokens on top of my Boba Fett card, kind of on the picture part, each one of those counts as one shield. So you know how many shields you have later on, and I'll show you what happens later on in the game when you start taking hull damage. And trust me, I take hull damage. But yes, Boba Fett is my big ship, and he's in there, and yeah, he's worth 45 points. Right here is Prince Zizor. I think that's how you say it. He's in a Star Viper. He's got advanced proton torpedoes, and I love that because if I can target lock you and get you in range band 1, which is pretty close, within about 3 inches, maybe 4-ish, 3 to 4 inches, I can throw 5 dice at you. I ignore my red, the red number 3 on the Star Viper, and I use the red 5 on the little small card. It's a one-use only type of thing, but yeah. I throw 5 dice at you, and if I use focus, I can turn any eyeball results on the dice that you throw, because they're D8s, into hit markers, and that's what you want to do. When you shoot, you want to hit your target. So advanced proton torpedoes are the bomb. Quite literally, actually. So yes, that's Prince Zizor. He's my Star Viper guy. He's my second guy. I just love the way this ship looks, and I like Prince Zizor for his little ability in the middle there. When defending, a friendly ship at range 1 may suffer 1 uncancelled hit or crit instead of you. That's really nice, so you can kind of pass off damage to someone else if you're hurting real bad, so you don't lose your ship. And he is worth 37 points, as you can see, because of 31 in the bottom right of his card, plus the 6 for advanced proton torpedoes. Also, as you can see, his little icon bar is much, much smaller than Boba's. So, just to give you a little, what it looks like and stuff, what the different cards' abilities are. Last but not least is my Syndicate Thug, and he's just my generic taken over Y-Wing. He's got no special rules. He's got no upgrades, as you can see, and he's just, I had some extra points, and I wanted a Thug with me, because, Thug life. But no. Sorry, that's embarrassing. Anyway, it's just, yeah, I took him because, honestly, he's very useful, and I like having the little guy. As you can see, he's not a powerhouse or anything like that. He's more of a tank. He's got 8 wounds for 18 points, 3 shield, 5 hull. He only pew-pews twice. He only gets to evade once. He's a pig. He's a big old tank, but I loves him, and I'm glad to have him part of the team. Here's Gnome Runner's fleet, Rebel Scum, and his first ship, as I promised, is an Outer Rim Smuggler. It's just the generic, what's it called? Millennium Falcon model, the YT-300, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. As you can see, he's pretty much butt naked, and he's worth 27 points. Next up, he has Tennum, a B-Wing, a named character, yeah. He has advanced sensors, which allows him to do something out of turn, which is actually a huge advantage, and that's about it. And then, of course, the one, the only, Luke Skywalker in his patented X-Wing of Doom.
You rebel scum.
I don't know if you watching this are familiar with the Star Wars franchise, but Luke Skywalker's kind of a big deal. He's Darth's son. Think about it. Sorry, spoiler. He has Push the Limit, which allows him to do a little something extra, but he gets stressed out by doing it. He's got R2-D2, which helps him out a little bit, and the engine upgrade makes it so that he's a lot more maneuverable. And instead of just lazily lifting to the left, he can lazily lift to the right. He's a very important man. But yes, Luke Skywalker, if you encounter him during a game, you know you have a fight ahead of you. So very cool to have him on the table. That, I like to shoot at the good guys. Here's setup, and real quick, again, little tutorial for people that don't know. In the middle of the map, I know it looks very sparse, but honestly, this map is crowded. And most maps are going to be like this, so this isn't something unusual or anything like that. Each player gets 3 of those little asteroid tokens that are in the middle of the table. They have to be range band 2. If you can see that stick in the background towards my opponent's side near the 3 little circles, that's the range finder. And basically, every asteroid has to be within 2 inches away from the board edge and 1 inch away from themselves. So, it gives you like little pathways and stuff like that. Think of it as terrain for space. If you run into an asteroid, it's really, really bad. You possibly take damage. There's a very good chance you're going to take damage. You can't perform any actions, and you can't shoot. So basically, you slam into the rock. You could blow yourself up. And then you have to stand there for an entire turn, or sit there for an entire turn, while your opponent does whatever he wants to do, and you're basically helpless to avoid it. You can evade, but you don't get any bonuses or anything like that. It's really bad to hit an asteroid. But at the same time, if you land on top of the asteroid, your next turn when you come off of it, same thing. You're going to take damage, and provided you can get off of it, which actually isn't all that hard, you can still function, you can still fire, you just can't take any actions, and actions are very important. They allow you to basically cheat fate, we'll say it like that, and I'll explain that a little bit later in the game. But for the most part, you set up within about 3 or 4 inches of the end of your board edge. It's range band 1, which again is that little stick. And again, in a tutorial video that's dedicated to tutorials, I'll explain that a little bit better. But suffice it to say, basically you deploy 4 inches in from the back, give or take. And I have on the left there, that's my Prince Sizor. In the middle is my Boba Fett, and on the right is my Thug Y-Wing. And then my opponent on the other side of the table, in the middle, he's got his Millennium Falcon, duh. To the left there in front is Luke Skywalker, and behind him is Ten-Nub. And this is actually a 100-point battle, and it's typically 3 ships. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is a lot, and hopefully you'll understand it by the end of the game. Here's what the end of the first turn looks like. For the most part, all we did was move, and that's typical for the beginning of the first turn of the game. You move, and then you perform your action, and you get 1 action unless you have like a little special power that allows you to do otherwise. And for the most part, you focus, or you evade, just in case your opponent's able to get up ahead of you and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is what happens. All my stuff moved up cautiously. My Y-Wing started angling to the right a little bit because I wanted him to swoop around and take, basically the rear and flank shots. Not that helps anything, but it's harder for them to attack back, and it's just something they don't expect. And I believe Prince Sizor and Boba Fett could take the brunt of their attention while the Y-Wing kind of circled around to do his thing. My opponent, he circled his Millennium Falcon over to our left, while Luke and the B-Wing started shooting forward, because Luke isn't really afraid of anything. He's got a lot of pew-pew that's really dangerous. So that was what the board looked like at the end of our first turn. Not overly interesting, but we're setting up for future turns. In the next turn during movement, my opponent did not see the asteroid because the Millennium Falcon is so big, and the angle he was looking at it at, the Millennium Falcon model was hiding the asteroid. So what you do is you see those little dials in the back in the top left of the screen. You set those dials, the movement you want to go for each ship, and then you place them face down, and you don't reveal them until it's your ship's turn to move. Well, as you can see, the Millennium Falcon, if you kind of see the card, the orange 1, his piloting skill is a 1. It's very low, so he moves fast, but he shoots last. So the Millennium Falcon circled around, hit the asteroid, landed right on top of it, and it's really bad that happened.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
So what ends up happening is, after much laughter, he rolls a red dice, an offensive dice, and he takes a wound, which really all that constitutes is he loses a shield. You can see the blue 4 on the card there. He has 4 shields. Well, now he's down to 75% shields. It was a solid hit right into the damn asteroid, and since he's on top of it, since he ended his turn touching any part of that big square base, if it's touching the asteroid at all, he cannot shoot and he cannot perform any actions because he's trying, I mean, he's taking damage, so he's trying to survive slamming at, ludicrous speed into a rock. It's really bad. So yeah, that's kind of a good start for me. And that's a very, very important part of this game. You really have to kind of understand how you're going to maneuver because everything is based off of these static arcs, and you place them in the middle of your base there, and then the arc shows you where you go. You place them in the front, and then the back end of the square, is where it ends, touching the arcway and stuff like that. It's, again, there'll be a tutorial video later on once I get it together, but for right now, just trust me, movement in this game is super important. Then over here, since I wasn't expecting my opponent to fly his Millennium Falcon into the asteroid, I moved Boba Fett the way I moved him, and as you can see, my base is touching the Millennium Falcon base. When that happens, you're fine. You stop right there instead of finishing your movement because you can't stop on top of a guy. You stop base to base with him. You can't take any actions, so you can't use any, like, your special abilities or anything like that. And you also can't shoot at the individual that you're in base-to-base with. You can shoot at other people, provided they're in your arcway. As you can see with Boba, he's got that solid red line there, or orange line there. That's his forward arc, and if anybody's inside that arc and in range, he can shoot at them. And then he's got that weird dash line in the back. If anybody's behind him, he can shoot at them as well. It's just kind of one of his bonuses. So in this situation, I cannot shoot at the Millennium Falcon with Boba Fett, but I could shoot at the B-Wing or at Luke if I chose to. In this situation, however, Luke shot first because his piloting skill is slightly better. We're both 8s, but Rebels shoot first because, the Rebels shoot first. They're bad guys. And Luke shoots at Boba, and after evasion and everything like that, as you can see, I took some stress. That's what the little exclamation triangle thing next to Boba is. I forced Luke to re-roll one of his, offensive hit dice. That's just Boba's special rule, and it didn't really help. He was still able to hit with it. But with my 2 evasion dice, I was able to evade twice, and I only took 1 damage, so I lose 1 shield, and Boba's shields are at 75%. That's 3 shields left there. Anybody who's paying attention. And here's what the end of the board here's what the end of turn 2 looks like on the board afterwards. As you can see, my Y-Wing is starting to turn around and get ready to sweep in and save the day. Prince Zizor is moving around to kind of sweep around. I did target lock Luke, which is good because Prince Zizor needs the target lock in order to use his advanced proton torpedoes, and Luke is the one I want to hurt real bad. I need to put as many wounds on him as quickly as possible, kill him if possible outright, because the sooner he's dead, the better off I am. He's worth a lot of points, and he's a huge threat on the table. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Luke obviously came in and shot at Boba a little bit, which was rude, and then his B-Wing guy shot forward just to kind of do some support. I think he shot at Boba a little bit, but completely missed. During the next turn, first thing that happens is his Millennium Falcon moves off the asteroid. He does take another hit and loses a shield for it, as you can see here. However, he is now off the asteroid and can shoot. He can't take any actions, but he can shoot in this turn. So that's something, but he took 2 wounds. He basically halved his shields in 2 movements because he didn't see the asteroid. And that's how dangerous the rocks are in this game. Over here, due to me not being able to see exactly where the asteroid was because the, the Millennium Falcon model was on top of it, I moved straight forward kind of slow. Unfortunately, I misjudged and I landed on top of the asteroid the Millennium Falcon was on as well as bumping into the B-Wing. So I stopped right where I'm at in the B-Wing on top of the asteroid. I do take a wound and I lose a shield because of it.
Sir, it's quite possible this asteroid is not entirely stable.
Not entirely stable. I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
Then during the shooting, Boba gets to shoot a little bit because what ends up happening is Luke moves forward and slams into Boba. So no damage causes or occurs or anything like that, but he can't shoot at Boba, and that's the only thing that's in range because he's in base to base with me. He slams into me, he's evading hitting me so we don't crash and burn. So he can't shoot at Boba. He's got no other targets, so he forfeits his shooting phase. It's Boba's turn. His Millennium Falcon is well within my back arc there, and he opens fire on the Millennium Falcon. When the dust settles, 2 wounds have been taken off the Millennium Falcon, which means 2 more shields are gone, and the 2 shields I just took off, plus the 2 shields that the asteroid took off, he has now got no shields. And there are ways to get your shields back up. I believe R2-D2 does that for Luke, but the Millennium Falcon, since he has no real upgrades or anything like that, and he's the base ship, he's got to take it. He cannot replenish his shields, so he's in a lot of trouble because now every time I shoot at him, I get to do a whole bunch of damage to his hull. And as soon as he gets to 0, that ship explodes, and it's game over for the smuggler. So I'm liking where we're going here. Then over here, Prince Zizor opens up with the advanced proton torpedoes on Luke Skywalker. I was able to focus this turn because I already had the target lock on Luke, and I rolled 3 hits. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I rolled 2 hits and a crit, as well as 2 eyes, which is focus. Well, when you have a focus token, you can discard the focus token to turn all your little eyeball icons on the D8s there into hits. So I hit him 4 times, and I did a critical hit to Luke. I blew past all of his shields, all of his hull, and killed Luke Skywalker in 1 volley.
Good shot, Red Tooth.
I don't care if you're Force sensitive or not, the Jedi felt that one. Let me tell you. Took him out before he could become a legend. Prince Zizor, you are the man! So yeah, Luke Skywalker goes down in a hail of bullets. Just ripped him apart, and that was simply outstanding. So here's what the board looks like at the end of turn 3. Ignore the Luke Skywalker ship. I'm still getting the format down and everything like that, so I took this picture prior to Luke being removed off the table. Don't ask, I make mistakes. But Luke is gone. His B-Wing thought that Boba was going to be further forward. Again, movement and assumption in this game, trying to figure out your opponent's strategy, like during his movement, is so incredibly critical in this game. But yeah, so his B-Wing thought that I was going to be further up so he could shoot at Boba in the back, and that's just not what happened. So his B-Wing wasn't able to shoot at anything. His Millennium Falcon took some pot shots at my Y-Wing because he's got a 360 arc but missed. My Y-Wing fired at his Millennium Falcon but missed, and that's how it all ended up looking after the end of turn 3. So we go into turn 4. And we move around and stuff like that. Boba moves out of the way a little bit, and the Y-Wing or the B-Wing shoots forward, and Boba is able to do a little bit of damage to Mr. 10 nub here, and I take 3 of his shields down because as you can see, he's in my rear arc of the Boba, and yeah, 3 of his shields go down. Boba's shooting something fierce right now, hitting and wounding with all 3 of his attacks. As you can see, the B-Wing or the 10 nub there, he's only got 1 evade, so I think it's like 2 of the on the D8 because they're all D8s. I believe 2 of them are focus icons, 2 of them are hits, 2 of them are crits, and 2 of them are blank. I think that's right. And he rolled a blank. And when there's a blank, you're just screwed. So, yeah, he only had 1 evasion. I had 4 dice because we were in range band 1. And I was able to put 3 of his shields out of commission, which is really, really good. However, 10 Nub's counter shot fired away at Boba, took care of the rest of my shields, and then the next one that got through was a critical hit. And what happens, as you can see here, there's a little card next to Boba. I also stressed Boba in order to try to make my opponent re-roll one of his shots, and he ended up rolling it from a hit to a crit. So that really didn't work out for me at all. But when you have a crit, these cards that I have right next to Boba right now, when they're on the other side, it just counts as a wound. You took 1 point of damage, and you put it next to the card that the ship, corresponds to. And when you have enough cards that meet the hull the hull number, the ship is destroyed. Well, when you roll a crit, you deal out the card, and then you flip it over, and it has an effect on it. In this situation, Boba took critical damage, and his one shot counted as 2 hit points worth of damage. So he took a third of Boba's health with that one shot. And that's how devastating crits can be. Some of them make it so that you can't turn left, literally. Some of them make it so that you can only move, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think 5 for movement. Obviously, 1 being the shortest distance, 5 being the highest. Well, there's ones out there that make it so that you can't do anything but 1 movements. There's things out there that make it so that you can't use actions. It's crazy. Crits, getting a crit through on a ship is super game changing. So the fact that I took 2 damage and getting Boba down to a third of his, or taking a third of Boba's life off with 1 shot, really, really bad. So I'm kind of worried about the Boba. Then over here, my little Y-Wing guy, he takes another shield off of the Millennium Falcon, and I believe that's it for shields on the Falcon. And then the Millennium Falcon, since he has a 360 line of fire, he takes some pot shots at the Y-Wing and is able to rip off one of the shields off the Y-Wing. So they just kind of traded. In the end, that's the end of the 4th turn, and that's how it looks like. We've got Boba and Ten-Nub kind of duking it out. Prince Zizor is trying to maneuver himself around to get a better shot at either the Millennium Falcon or Ten-Nub. I'm actually getting ready to go after the Millennium Falcon because I smell blood in the water. And, of course, the Y-Wing is going after the Millennium Falcon. And the Millennium Falcon is trying to circle around and help take out Boba as fast as he can because with the loss of Luke, Boba is a huge threat, as you saw when he took 3 shields off of Ten-Nub. So we go over here to the beginning of the 5th turn, and unfortunately, my opponent made a mistake. Unfortunate for him, great for me, and ended up maneuvering his Millennium Falcon into another asteroid.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
This could have been a lot worse. Luckily for him, he did not take a hit he did not roll a hit when he slammed into the asteroid. However, since he landed on it, he cannot use any actions and he cannot shoot this turn. Then, during the shooting, I ended up using my Y-Wing to open up on the Millennium Falcon. I was in range band 1, so I had 3 dice instead of 2 to throw at him. I hit twice, and as you can see, that's what the other side of the hit cards look like. And as you can see, each one counts as 1. I did 2 points, and I believe the Millennium Falcon only has 4 hit points left, which is really, really good. I should be able to take care of this thing. Other than that, here's what the end of turn 5 looks like. As you can see, Boba Fett is maneuvering himself around in order to try to get a better angle on either Ten-Nub or the Millennium Falcon. The Ten-Nub did target lock and shoot at Boba, and I used Boba's ability of taking stress in order to have him reroll one of his hits. He only hit once, he rerolled it, and it failed to hit again, which is awesome. Prince Zizor is making his way around in order to go after the Millennium Falcon. I did hit the asteroid, but I went all the way through it, which was fine. That's why there's no action or anything taken by Zizor, and I did not take any damage for hitting it. And since I went past the asteroid, I'm not on it. I'm going to be okay next turn. So we go into turn 6. And first thing that happens is we maneuver and stuff like that. Boba moves around a little bit. Or I'm sorry, not Boba. The Millennium Falcon moves off the asteroid and ends up right here. But as he comes off the asteroid, he takes another point of damage. So he's down to 3 hit points, which is really good for me. So far, this Millennium Falcon hitting the rocks has taken, I think, 4 damage. And that's a lot. So, poor guy. Then we go into shooting after maneuvering is all done, and Prince Zizor, I'm sorry, not Prince Zizor, but Ten-Nub shoots at my Y-Wing thug who's desperately trying to get after the Millennium Falcon and make a name for himself, and he's able to knock off the rest of the shields on the Y-Wing. So now I'm down to 5 hit points left on this guy, which is very easily done, especially in range band 1. So little nervous about the Y-Wing, but if I had to lose a ship, the Y-Wing is the expendable one. Then over here, the Y-Wing opens fire on the Millennium Falcon, taking another 2 points of damage off of him, leaving him with 1 hull point left. And if I could just slip 1 more wound through, that would be awesome. I'm sorry, it's not the Y-Wing that does that. This is Prince Zizor shooting. And then here he is. The smuggler goes down.
Young fool. Only now, at the end, do you understand?
The Y-Wing is able to slip through that last wound, and I blow up the Han Solo wannabe just before he could do anything about it. Absolutely glorious. His 10 nub shoots at my Y Wing, I believe, and fails to do anything. So here's what the table looks like at the end of turn 6. As you can see, Boba's trying to make his way around. 10 nub. I ignore the Millennium Falcon being there. It's gone. Again, I took this picture too quick. But yeah, this is what the field looks like minus the Millennium Falcon. It's been removed. So basically, Boba, Prince, and the Y-wing thug are circling 10 nub, looking to 10 num, sorry, looking to finish him off as soon as possible. So we go straight into movement here in turn 7. Again, we're playing for an hour, and so really there's no turns. It's just once an hour is up, if there's any ships left on the table, we stop playing and total up the points and determine a winner that way. Or if somebody gets tabled, then we decide it that way. But we go into the combat here, and my Y-wing, unfortunately, I expected 10 num to do something else. He didn't. He ends up in range band 1 of my poor Y-wing, who takes 2 points of damage, which I believe leaves him with 3 hit points left. So right now my thug is rethinking his life choices, and I feel a little bad for him. But Prince Zizor is able to pew-pew at 10 nub and take a shield off of him. And I think that's the last shield that he has. Here's what the end of the 7th turn looks like. For the most part, Prince Zizor and the Y-Wing trying to get a better angle off on old what's-his-face there. 10 nub and Boba Fett desperately trying to get back into this combat. During my next movement phase, I, again, misjudge where the asteroid's going to be and catch it with my corner. I do believe I'm okay. I don't think I take any damage. No, I do. I take damage from the asteroid, which is really sad. There you go. So, yes, the damage card on Boba is from the asteroid, and it's really bad because I think Boba's down to like half wounds now. Prince Zizor right here is being shot at by 10 nub and loses one of his shields.
Stabilize your rear deflectors. Watch for enemy fighters.
But I shoot back with Prince Zizor, and I'm able to lop off another one of his shields, which may or may not be his last one. I can't remember. But it's, yeah, I definitely get a little revenge on him there, and I feel good about that. So here's what the table looks like at the end of that turn, and for the most part, as you can see, we're all just kind of funneling in. My Y-wing is shooting around, getting ready to spin around, and fire away at 10 nub in case he tries to do some like super speedy things in order to get out of the range bands of both Boba and Prince Zizor. So we go into movement, and of course it's a huge traffic jam. However, Boba, coming off of the rock, ends up taking another point of damage. He's down to 2 hit points, I think. However, he's going to survive because 10 nub, not thinking that I was going to do that, or Gnome Runner anyway, moved 10 nub in such a way that he ended up on Boba Fett, so he can't shoot at Boba. He does shoot at Prince Zizor and fails to do anything to him, which is very, very good. And here's what the end of 9th looks like. My Y-wing has done a turnaround, like a barrel roll type, or not a barrel roll, but like a loop-de-loop type of thing. It stresses you out, but you get to move a bunch of inches, and then you turn around and face the opposite direction you were going. Boba and Prince Zizor are doing a conga line, trying to get a better angle at 10 nub, and 10 nub is slamming into Boba Fett, stopping him from shooting at Boba and killing him, thank goodness, but Prince Zizor needs to turn around fast and get some shots off on this guy. We go into the next turn, and Boba is able to move up just slightly, very little. 10 nub misjudges what I was going to do and moves up slightly himself, keeping himself off of Boba. But in the shooting, as you can see, Boba and the Y-wing, I believe it was the Y-wing, or I'm sorry, I believe it was Boba that shot first, and then the Y-wing finished off the 10 nub with 2 critical hits. Boba was able to get him down, and then with the 2 critical hits, I was able to do 3 wounds, and there's, like, as you can see, with the thrust control fire, it does a little effect to him had he still been alive, and the critical hit finishes him off, ending 10 nub, and tabling my opponent. Here's what the board looks like at the end of the game.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Very, very fun game. A lot of crazy piloting done by both of us. Asteroids are a serious factor in this game, but a lot of fun. Really cool to play the Star Wars battles, as the special characters on the map, with the ships and everything like that. And it's very, very fun game. Very, very cool game. And believe it or not, we were able to finish this game with about 3 to 6 minutes left. I can't remember exactly how much was left. So it's also a rather quick game in comparison to other things. So definitely a lot of fun. And you know what? We'll get to the recap in a minute because right now this game is over.
The Force will be with you, always.
Hey guys and gals, all you Wargamer nuts. Right here we've got an ad for Token Gal. She makes tokens for every game system, every possible requirement, every need. If it's a war game, if it's a tabletop game, if it's a board game, if it's a card game, if you need tokens, wound counters, spell counters, afflictions, hexes, augments, anything at all, send her an email. Tell her what you need. Hell, if you want certain pictures put on there, tell her what pictures you're looking for. Not only will she find it and make it, but she will charge you, really, really fair prices. And I mean really fair. Don't take my word for it, though. Send her an email. Tell her what you need. Get yourself some tokens. You're not going to regret it. And tell her Tremendous sent you.
Adventure. Excitement. Jedi craves not these things.
So yes, it was a victory for Lord Tremendous. I was able to table my opponent with 3 minutes and 38 seconds left on the clock. I ended up losing none of my ships, but Gnome Runner ended up losing Luke Skywalker, 10 Nub, and an Outer Rim Smuggler. Prince Zizor's 5-shot kerplow on Luke was absolutely amazing, and God knows I'll probably never get lucky like that again. Although Advanced Proton Torpedoes are a super powerful card, so I'm really happy that I was smart enough to bring that and got the opportunity to use it to such effect. As I said numerous times in this report, avoiding the asteroids, especially for the big ships, was really hard for us.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Yeah, having to plan out your movement and everything like that for all your ships prior to actually doing it and trying to guess, because there is no pre-measuring or anything like that. It's really, really tough, but it's really, really fun too. I like the added challenge. Boba took some serious damage, but still came out on top in the end, and he is worth every point. And my no-named Y-Wing thug was incredible. Hunting down the smuggler and then finishing off 10 Nub. He was really, really good. I was rolling hot. I know I was, but man, that was something else. Still working on the format for the X-Wingers reports. I like how this is going so far, but if there's something you would rather see or something that I'm missing or anything like that, let me know. And if I like the idea, I will implement it. I'm totally open to constructive criticism, so feel free. But I'm really loving being back in this game. Really love the Star Wars franchise. Like, ridiculous, stupid, love it. And I get to play around with Star Wars sound effects. As you can tell, I'm enjoying that a lot, too. And if not, maybe you should unmute the video. Because, yeah, there were a few.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
But this was a really, really great game. This was a really great opponent, and I'm really looking forward to the rematch. So there it is, guys. History has been made. My first ever X-Wing battle report, and it was a victory, which is so unlike me. As always, though, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But yeah, guys, thanks.